Welcome to another Acoustic Alternatives. We're in Grove Studios in Ypsilanti, a place that if you're in a band and you're looking for a place to get out of your garage and get into the studio, not annoy your neighbors, which is something I tagline myself. I don't think Grove says that, but I think that's the most important part about the working here at Grove or doing your band practice at Grove. Your neighbors are going to like you a little bit better, I think, and it's going to work out better for all. In fact, my guest today on the podcast has used the studio for a practice session before. Annie Capps is here. Hello, Annie.
Hi, John.
It's good to see you. Can you move a little closer to the microphone?
Of course.
When you're singing, we can hear you just fine, but
you
when
go.
you're talking, it's a little farther away. So anyway, new album out.
Yeah.
It actually technically came out last year, but it's really just available to the rest of the world now.
Yeah. Yeah. Timing is everything, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, right.
So I hired a producer, a PR team that wanted to kick the release off. So we started the new year with a whole campaign, and it's getting spread around the world right now, and they seem to really love this album over in the UK.
That is awesome. We can get to that in our discussion.
Yes.
The new album's called How Can I Say This? Would you like to start with a song? I think you should.
I think why not? And since you mentioned it, yeah, I'm going to play the title track. Can I say a little bit about this?
Sure.
So the whole album called How Can I Say This, but this song in particular was inspired by a haiku by my friend Jenny Beneman, who, if you get a chance to look her up, we'll spell her name in the liner notes, but she writes haiku, and she asks her friends to write a song inspired by them. And this was inspired by a rather, a codependent-ish kind of haiku. And this is me breaking up with all the voices in my head. I love you more than I ever can say, but I need you to leave me alone. It's not you, it's me, goes the dreaded cliche, bending your will to my own. How can I say this without breaking your heart? You are the voice I've been holding on to. Now I need you to leave me alone. Losing myself in this longing for you, my power has been overthrown. How can I say this without breaking your heart? How can I say this without breaking your heart? I just need to know what it feels like. I need to know what it feels like without you under my skin, indelibly attached to my trembling bones. You are a part of my anatomy, but I need you to leave me alone. How can I say this without breaking your heart? How can I say this without breaking your heart? Bloodshot from weeping, my Polaroid eyes are fading into monochrome. You are the dusk devoid of fireflies, and I need you to leave me alone. How can I say this without breaking your heart? Please let me say this without breaking your heart. How can I say this? I love you more than I ever can say, but I need you to leave me alone.
A song I'm glad that is not about me, as far as I know.
Or my husband.
Or your husband, Rod.
We make that very clear.
Lovely man. How can I say this? The title track from Annie Capps' newest record. Quote, songs about reckoning with choices and relationships that shape who we become. That's a pretty good summary of what's going on this record. And I know it's also described as life events coming to the surface. Is this inspired at all? I mean, I know part of it's because you were in lockdown like the rest of us, but the Me Too movement, does that play into this at all?
You know, it wasn't intentional. And I'm not necessarily an intentional writer anyway. Like, songs happen to me, I think, more than, and, you know, I do my work after they start to happen, and I want to clean up for craft purposes, I suppose. But, you know, so often I'm writing a song and I'm not really sure where I'm headed with it. But over the pandemic, I definitely had kind of those opportunities to be more deliberate in the way I write, and with song assignments and prompts. So I had a lot of songwriting angels that showed up with, you know, Jan Christ, our friend who is an amazing songwriter and mentor to me, was hosting some online songwriting retreats. And yeah, we learned to dig a little bit deeper. I mean, I like to think I tackle some good subject matter, and I'm not afraid of going deep, but this one was definitely letting down a lot of guards and, you know, going after tough subjects, I think.
Yes.
So.
And that's okay to do.
Yeah.
It's honest.
Yeah, exactly. I needed it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good timing for that.
Yeah.
8 studio recordings later, is this your first venture without Rod on a record?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Can you believe that?
No.
I mean,
it seems like you might have been solo at some point.
Yeah. Well, even, you know, the Yellow Room Gang that I'm fortunate to be part of, this great group of songwriters, you know, that was my first sort of playing by myself without Rod, you know, in opportunities. And even on that record, those records that we made, Rod came in to accompany me. I was just too like, no, I don't want to play by myself.
You like him too much.
I like him too. Well, you know, who wouldn't play with him? He's sickeningly talented.
It's true.
Right.
When was the last time you did an actual solo show? And I know the shows coming up aren't solo shows because you've got a lot of friends joining.
Yeah. Well, I have done several songwriter in the round kind of things where I play by myself. I have did an opening set for Lyndon Thoburn at the Ark. I played by myself, but it is really a completely different beast. And I want to do more of it just because I feel like it would be a scary thing that I want to, you know, a hurdle in my life. So
something to tackle.
Yeah, I've done it, just not in a big way.
Well, shows coming up that support the new record, how can I say this? We'll show that to the camera, are happening on Thursday, March 9th. This is the one that happens in Kalamazoo at the Clover Room. It's Annie and her band of badass women, also playing the Crooked Tree Art Center in Petoskey, Friday, March 10th. March 11th, the one that's closest to the location we're at today, the Trinity House in Livonia. A great place to see a show. Love that home. Yeah. And an Annie and Rod Cap show coming up as well on March 19th at the Michigan Theater in Jackson.
Did you see that lineup?
I did not. Who else is on that lineup?
Well, gosh. Okay, so now you're going to put me on the spot. But Haywood Banks, for starters.
Yes, that's fun right there.
Who we're fortunate to, you know, call a friend. But, like, this is the first time we've ever played a show together. You know, he's way up here and we're, you know, not. And Jennifer Westwood, who
Devils.
I've heard so much about, and I'm really excited. I want to say the other fella is Steve Taylor.
He's one of the future guests on the podcast.
Oh, excellent. Good. I'm looking forward to hearing. These are folks that I've not, I mean, other than, you know, Haywood Banks.
Haywood was on the podcast in December.
Promoting
his Christmas album.
I saw. That's right. I did peek into that one. Excellent.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So the badass women's shows that are coming up, who will be playing with you at those?
Okay, so we've got a core band that is Carolyn Keeble, drummer from Kalamazoo, who's also on the album. Talisha Williams, bass player, one half of Wild Ponies. She's also on the album. She's coming up to play the upright bass. Caitlin Coral, who I have yet to meet in person, but who I've heard so much about, is a badass woman from Rochester, Michigan. She's playing bass, electric bass. And Annie Bacon will be singing with me. Faye Burns. Is playing guitar, and Corey Summers, another Kalamazoo gal, amazing violin, and Emily Slomovitz will appear as a guest. Jennifer Buer, an Ypsi girl, is going to be singing, and Judy Inslee will be joining me, and Robin Lee Berry up north. So yeah, a big, depending on where we are, we may have special guests. And then there's opening acts, the shows. So the Keynote Sisters will be opening up north, and they're divine. You should check.
Not seen them live, but
Yeah.
I have heard the recording,
Yeah,
so yes. Jill Jack's been pushing them on me for a while.
Yeah, they're just adorable. And then Michelle Peters is going to be opening in Kalamazoo. So yeah.
That's a pretty impressive lineup. And you didn't even mention, I'm looking at the 40 women who contributed to the project. And I made little notes of all the people that I've met in person or know a little bit. So you got Sav and Katie from the Accidentals, Jill Jack, Mallory Graham from Rough and Tumble, Erin Zindel from the Ragwords, Christy Davis, Ann Heaton, Tracy Grammer, I don't know, but I know her a little bit, Amy Petty, which to me, having Amy Petty sing background on your album was like having Adele singing background on your record.
I know.
And I can pick her voice out on the song, too. It's the very end of the song, like, that's Amy's voice.
Yep.
An old friend from high school as well, CJ Milroy.
Yes.
I knew her when she was Carrie Bentley. Back when her brother and I are the same age, and I haven't seen her in a decade probably. So those are all the people that just partial list of people contributed to the record, and pretty much an all-woman project on this one, isn't it?
Yep, it is 100%. There's over 40 women on this record, and 20 of them are on that one song. Right? I had tried to mix it up as much as possible, but yeah, there's women from California to Nashville to Toronto. Illinois, of course, around here. Where else? I'm missing places. Pennsylvania. Heather Pearson is a piano. Anyway, there's too many. I'm going to forget them all. But yeah.
Pick up the record and read the liner notes.
But even playing that song, John, I'm playing the title track, and if you listen to the album, it's just lush, and that's all Sav and Katie. Their string arrangements.
They're great.
Incredible. In fact, the next song I want to play is another one that they played on. They were the first ones that I one of the first ones I reached out to, and I've gotten to know them. Just not only are they amazingly talented, but they're just incredible human beings.
They really are. You almost got to my next question without me asking it.
Yeah.
First to help, last to contribute.
Yeah.
So who was first to help? Accidentals?
Well, first to help came in. I think Sav and Katie were the first that I reached out to, and they were pretty quick. That's the other thing. If you need studio work, and they're super amazing, so all you artists out there, I think Sav was just promoting that. I can't recommend them more highly. And the last one in, oh gosh, this is going to be, I'm going to say it's probably, it was either Amy. I think it was Amy.
Okay.
And how gorgeous is that
little
trailing voice? When she sent me her part, it was how can I use this? And I just,
they're at the end. Yeah.
Perfect. That song was a bit of work to mix. We're talking about Crowded, by the way. So
yes, the album's doing very well in the folk charts already. You've got reviews from the Netherlands, Italy, France, Belgium, England. I have a lot of local music friends, but none of them ever talk about having reviews in other countries. How do you do that?
I'm just laughing because I've yet to get a review from a stateside.
What?
Lori? Well, I've got
Lori Stratton. Yes.
I've got Lori Stratton. Yeah, she did a great, really, really, really nice interview, but. I've got a promoter that we worked with on our last album, the last album Rod and I did together, When They Fall. I just somehow came across this guy. He promoted Ben Bedford and Danny Schmidt and people that we know, and thought, okay, well, let's check him out. And he got us a ton of radio play over there that was above and beyond. Kind of Carrie Estrin is my stateside, badass woman promoter. And the reason I was okay going with the gentleman's name is Geraint. It's Geraint and Deb Jones. So there's a woman involved there. But yeah, publicists are pricey and hard to come by.
There you go.
Yeah. So.
Well, we're going to go back in time and talk about your past after you play another song. So grab your electric.
All right.
We'll talk about a younger you.
I'm very excited that I'm the first electric guitar in the studio here,
I believe you. I can't think of an electric guitar that's actually bothered to try and come in. But
it's an electric guitar of sorts, but that sort of hollow body. This is from the 50s somewhere. I need to learn more about this guitar. But this is, I think, one of the shortest songs on the record. It's called Dirty Little Secret. Dirty little secret. Wherever I am, that's where you are. You'll be riding shotgun, 'cause I know how to drive this car. We can keep the headlights low, nobody will know. It's you and me under lock and key. Dirty little secret. Nothing that I feel can be unfelt. Never mind the jury, 'cause they don't know the hand we're dealt. We don't have to play these cards, give them our regards. Find a saint out there, ever heard our prayer? Dirty little secret. There's no need to poke that bear. No bridges need to burn. No confessor needs to hear my dirty little secret. Carried all the way into the grave. We don't have to worry, 'cause on our headstone they've written, herein lies the loving daughter, wife, sister, and friend who led a beautiful life. Dirty little secret. Dirty little secret. Dirty little secret.
It worked very well as a solo piece. Dirty Little Secret.
Oh my gosh, but I'm hearing all those gorgeous strings in my head and
Well,
the
of course.
harmony vocals. But yeah.
But of course, no, this is how they were written, though, right? So
Originally, yes. And,
it's okay to strip them down that way and let us feel what they felt like for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Chelsea, Michigan is your home these days. You're probably the second most well-known person behind Jeff Daniels, who lives in Chelsea. I mean, internationally known now that you're getting reviews all over the world.
Right.
Where'd you grow up?
Well, I grew up in the Detroit area, but you know this area. I was born and raised in a little burb called Beverly Hills, right? So just 12-mile and Lasser between that area and just outside of Detroit. Went to grade school in Southfield and high school in Birmingham, an all-girls school, 12 years in uniforms. And, I led a very privileged but not spoiled, life.
Well, those areas are a little bit more affluent than other parts of town.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
in that regards, yes. I mean, your house was probably nicer than many of the houses that
Yeah.
I grew up in Warren. Some parts of Warren are nice and some parts are South Warren, which are crappy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in the middle.
Yeah.
12 Mile and Shaner. So not too far from you, really, if we just went
I
west.
know that area well. Yeah, we used to, when I was in high school, I used to love to go up to the bars on the east side because, I don't know if you remember, the main act or the studio lounge we would go to a lot in Warren, right? Because, a different kind of music that I was into back then.
I used to DJ 89X nights at the Ritz and Lipsticks.
And the Ritz, of course.
Yes. How can you forget the Ritz?
Yes, right.
They own Lipsticks as well, same people. Anyway, Metro Detroit area girl, influenced by the sounds of the area. Who are you listening to?
Sure. That's a good question because, locally, we were talking about the Ritz, and when I was in high school, we were, chasing around Bittersweet Alley and Toby Red, and those guys were pretty hot, but they were covering Aerosmith and Joe Jackson, and I was listening to, in my high school years, I was listening to more rock, but I'm a huge Elton John fan, and I think my earliest singer-songwriter world is Carole King and James Taylor and Jim Croce. And so, yeah, my sister came home with an Aerosmith album, and all the rest was history for a while. And then, I moved here. There's a lot of sordid stories in between there, the drummer and yada yada. And then Rod and I, and then we lived here, and I knew about the Ark, but I hadn't really experienced it much. In fact, my sister was going when it was, you bring your own booze in a paper bag because, right, you need to be a member. But we finally went, and I started volunteering. We lived a couple miles away, and I mean, my life changed.
Is that why you chose folk music?
I think
I
really, because I was playing in a cover band, and we were covering Sheryl Crow and Alanis Morissette and, Jewel. I was into the singer-songwriter girls, and I was starting to play the guitar again, and I was starting to really get interested in writing. And Ani DeFranco was a big, impetus for that, too. I just was like, oh, I want to do that, like the way she did it.
Right.
I mean, I had played guitar when I was young, but I didn't really stick with it well enough, and I was writing really crappy songs when I was to whatever. Nobody wants to hear those. But so I didn't really dive into that writing. But Dar Williams, Jonathan Brooke, Sean Colvin,
great stuff,
right?
Yeah.
The River.
Mm-hmm.
I was working a day job, and I was writing songs like, that alt tab thing you can do on a computer to change your screen so my boss wasn't looking. So half my albums were written that way, the earlier ones.
Let's call your old boss. And let
That's
me know.
right.
No.
It's all right. She knows.
My gateway drug to the modern folk world was Indigo Girls because the harmonies reminded me of Simon & Garfunkel, which was part of my youth. The 8-track player in my mom's car, we had greatest hits, and that was like one of the main things I heard all the time.
Yeah.
And when I heard Indigo Girls, there was something familiar about that style of harmony, and for me, it's like, what is this?
Yeah.
And that kind of opened the door, and then Dar and all that stuff too, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
And the River was very helpful because Ann DeLisi programmed that at the time and was giving us a good taste of what we were missing.
For sure.
So there we go. I guess we had pretty similar paths because I mean, Bittersweet Alley, absolutely. That WLLZ's like local rock show stuff was really like, oh, this is great stuff. So yes, sounds like we could have easily been friends in high school.
I know. I might be a little older than you, though, but we're not going to talk about that.
No, not too much. I don't think so. I'm younger than you think. No,
you're younger than I think.
No, I don't think so. We'll talk about that later. So. You've done a lot of things around the music scene since you started writing songs at 11, apparently, according to a bio I read somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
Your accomplishments around town include 18 different occurrences of the My Folky Valentine show.
Wow.
All of those at the Ark?
Yeah.
Every single one of them. So
Yeah.
for those who don't know what the My Folky Valentine show is, here in the Ann Arbor, Ypsi area, we're blessed with a show that features married couples either on or near Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And always kind of cornerstone by you and Rod.
Yeah. Well, it started out, the same couples for the first 5 years. It was John and CJ, the Milroys, and Jan Christ and Alan Finkbeiner were the first. Like, that was the first one we had decided to do it. And then we did the same show. I think we invited 2 more couples the next year. And then John and CJ stopped performing out, and I figured that was a good opportunity to kind of change things up a little bit,
Mix in a new group.
Why not? And so then each year was we've brought a lot of the same couples back over the years, but I don't want to talk about the couples that are no longer couples that we had because there's far too many of them. But
that's unfortunate. Yeah.
What are you going to do? Great. So, I don't know. Are we a jinx? But no, we just had a really lovely show. Yeah. With the aforementioned Jenny Beneman and Robin Beneman and Ruth and Max Bloomquist, who were long overdue guests. Yeah.
Dave and Christy, I think, have done it.
Dave and Christy have done it a few times. And gosh, the list, don't make me think.
It's just kind of a cool thing. Nobody else is
Yeah.
really doing that. And I admire that you started a tradition. That's something to be, put that on the resume. I started a tradition in the Ann Arbor area.
I really love that. There are kind of regular shows that happen, that you can always count on.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've got people. There was a couple in the audience who had met at a Folky Valentine 10 years ago.
See?
Got married shortly after that, and they were older couple too. So it was just that was so cool. There's several that celebrate anniversaries, and because Valentine's Day is a popular day to propose to somebody, right? And get married, and so there's a lot of that. Yeah.
Your other accomplishments include a career in graphic design. Are you still doing that?
A little bit. I actually have quit this quote-unquote graphic design piece of it, but I'm doing websites now.
Okay.
In fact, I just got a new web client I'm really excited about. I hope it's probably okay to do this because they don't mind me promoting it. The Echoes of Pink Floyd.
Oh.
They're a Pink Floyd tribute band out of I guess out of the west side of the state, but I can't wait to go see that show. They're doing some really exciting ones. But yeah, I did Wilson Thickett's website recently.
Nice.
And these guys saw that. So I don't want to get too much work, but I'll take a few.
Well, when you meet Steve Taylor, when you do a show with him,
yes.
he needs a website.
Does he though?
Yeah, because I was asking him in advance of the interview we're doing next. We were going, send me to your website. I don't have one. Wait a minute. You've got like 5 albums out. You're up for Detroit Music Awards. You don't have a website. Get him a website.
Yeah.
Help him out. So you're also part of the Folk Alliance Region Midwest. Tell me about your involvement with that. Farm, as it's also
Yes,
known.
also known as Farm, yeah. Farm came into my life back in 2006, our lives, I should say, and they're a Midwest region of the International Folk Alliance. There's regions all around the country that are smaller than this big, huge conglomerate that is, thousands of artists and venues, and mostly artists looking for gigs. And anyway, we put on an annual conference, usually in the Midwest, and I've been involved with them for a while. Most recently as their conference director for the last 5 years or so, been focusing on that job, and I just actually retired. So I passed the torch on to a really wonderful, younger and energetic conference director called Ellen Stanley, also known as Mother Banjo, and just very
promoter for
it's
sure.
going to be great. And the board is incredible. The organization has grown from a conference of 60 people to over 300, and it's a really great place for artists, certainly artists from the Midwest who are looking to break out of their neighborhoods, and want to be exposed to possible gigs elsewhere, and certainly a great place for people who are looking for acts to book.
Some of those people listen to this podcast. How can they find out about that?
Oh, farmfolk.org.
Farm?
F-A-R-M, yes, farmfolk.org. Yeah, okay. Farm is a really unfortunate acronym because people say, going to farm. Like, what? Yeah, we get farm organizations inquiring with us once in a while.
We don't do sheep or cows or horses. Sorry.
Exactly.
So another accomplishment is that, did you and Rod start the On the Track series or just you?
Well, I don't want to take any, credit away from him, but I dragged him into that. Yes, for sure. Like, it's not something that, it is definitely something that I wanted to do, but he's been with me since day one.
Talk about that.
Yeah. Well, the concert series it was designed for me to expose people in our neck of the woods to amazing singer-songwriters. I'm in love with people who write great songs, and, it's my series, so I get to decide whose songs I like.
Yeah.
And there's never enough shows for me to book everybody that I would want to book. But, we've had 10 years now. We had a couple quiet years during COVID, but
everything was quiet.
We're on our 10th season, and we're picking up steam again. It took us a little bit to get our legs moving, but it's at the Chelsea Depot, the first Wednesday of the month from September through May. And coming up tomorrow, Ann Heaton and Mike Ward will be opening the show.
That only counts if this was live, but yes.
Yes. Oh, coming up on May 1st, Wednesday. Right. Sorry about
March
that.
1st.
Oh, yeah. Well, Anyways, the next month we have a songwriter in the round with a bunch of artists you will know and love. Sam Robbins, Lyndon Thoburn, and Darcy Wilkins from the west side of the state. And then our May show season finale is going to be an evening with Sons of the Never Wrong, who are incredible. So,
Oddly, you said picking up steam. You didn't catch the irony that you're right next to the railroad tracks.
Nice. Yes.
So it's right at the depot in Chelsea near the railroad tracks. It's a cool little space. I've been to it several times. So folks who have not checked it out, Google On the Tracks Chelsea, and you'll be able to find it, I'm sure, pretty easy.
Yeah.
So besides, we've already talked about your success outside of the country. Yeah. Where outside in the United States, in Michigan, are you most well received as a performer?
Oh, God.
Because you guys have toured around, right?
Yeah. The Chicago area has been really good to us. We've played there often enough now that we've started to develop a bit of a following in that neck of the woods. And, we've been down to Indianapolis in our kind of immediate, this tri-state area. But honestly, we haven't done, it's been probably 10 years since we've done an awful lot of touring beyond just this Midwest. We would really love to get back out to California and out east, certainly. We try to go down to Florida once in a while, but every artist wants to go down there and January and February.
Yeah, it's crowded.
It's like, it's a very crowded space. But yeah, we're hoping to get back out there and do a bit more touring. But, Rod and I just stepped into the studio and we're making a new record.
You're ahead of me on questions again, but go ahead. I'm not going to wait. Just tell me about that.
Yeah, we just again, with the pandemic, I had a lot of songs, and that batch of songs needed to be what they were there, but...
The special songs. Look, it's the train.
Oh, the train! I love the train. But yeah, every single, every month I was writing a song and then some. So I had, another dozen or so songs that needed a place to go, and they're super fun. It's a complete, completely different than this record, and it's very upbeat and energetic and rockin'. And we've got the same team again: Jason Denny, Ozzy Andrews, and Mike Shimon on drums.
Oh, nice.
And we'll probably bring in some guests. Only this time they will be women.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a little bit of a mix. But yeah, back to super fun. We're excited about that. We've got a show at the Arc on June 22nd.
Okay,
that will be the CD release.
Very good. No pressure. You gotta
no pressure. I know we really have to get it done. It's like
I'm keeping you from that.
Yeah, I know.
When you're writing songs, is it easier to write fact or fiction songs for you?
Oh, wow. Oh, completely factual. I can't. I tried this sort of storytelling, and I still like the storytelling, but it has to come from a place of what I know, my knowledge, my...
what your heart can say.
What I've experienced. Yeah. And I've certainly done that observational songwriting where, I got a couple of songs that I'm really proud of that were me putting myself in somebody else's shoes, and wondering what that would be like. And, but, I'm in that place right now where I'm feeling like drawn to write just honestly, right? Just me. And it turns out people actually can relate to that stuff.
What?
I know.
Other people have experienced what you've experienced?
Right. I know. That's what I'm just like, of course they want to hear it, because so long it just feels like such a self-indulgent thing that we do, just especially if there's amazing people who write really great kind of political and social conscious and great protest songs, and there's a way to do that, and it's something that I only sort of dance around the surface. I write, try to come at things from a different side rather than in your face, and express my own kind of philosophies, I suppose. I like my poignant little ponderings line, when we talk about this style of music, because, we've been called poignant, I guess. And, that's what I do. I think about the world, and I think about a lot of different things. And, my heart is very empathic. Like I feel things deeply. So, yeah.
Very good. We're going to talk more about the new record, but you've got a guitar, and I think it would be sensible for you to play it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So.
What song are you going to do next?
I'm going to do this is kind of a love song, but I think I'm going to play it's the second to last cut on the album, and this whole album I've called a love letter to my younger self, but this one is kind of moved past that younger self and kind of more current day and where I'm at right now. And I feel like I'm a very grateful human being in a lot of ways. I've got a wonderful husband and a awesome place where I live, and I'm very fortunate, but I'm also I'm a person who's kind of always yearning for something, and I'm always looking over there. Is there something else,
Mm-hmm.
Not that I want to go look for, so I'm happy. Like, it balances between city and country. I say we live where we live right now. We're surrounded by trees. I live in the country. It's beautiful, and I love it out there. And the city is noisy, but I'm kind of still have one foot in the city, even though I love where I'm at right now. So let's turn the volume up. Here's my turn, this is me, second driveway on the right, just before the curve. They don't ever plow this road, you might want to take it slowly. Welcome to my world. Remember Monday's little glimpse of spring? It woke the bees, and now the hives are all covered up in snow. February's fickle that way. I am too. You know firsthand how long I take to let things go. And you ask me if I ever miss the city, and I'll tell you I only sometimes do. You see that gravel pit across the road? It used to be alive. Now those boys are out of work. I feel bad for them, I do, but I like the quiet until the neighbor's shotgun fire takes me out of my comfort. And you ask me if I ever miss the city, and I'll tell you there's no more neon lights to faint the stars. I swear the moon's 1,000,000 times bigger out here. It's where I untangle every knot I'm tied up in and let the whole damn world disappear. Soon will be the time for planting. Maybe this year I can finally grow that little garden. Yeah, I know. But just look at all the green. Can you believe this is my backyard? So don't ask me if I ever miss the city, 'cause I'll tell you I still sometimes do. But I only sometimes do.
Annie Capps is my guest on Acoustic Alternatives at Grove Studios in Ypsilanti, a spot that we mentioned earlier is great for podcasting, which I'm doing obviously now, band practice, which is going to be happening in about 10 minutes down the hall, or if you're a DJ, actually, you can also practice your skills here. There's a couple of rooms where you can spin and make a lot of noise and not really disturb anybody except the trains or the guys who are in the tow trucks over there. So good stuff. Remind me the name of that song.
It's called Only Sometimes.
Only Sometimes. Annie Capps performing today, talking about her new record. We're going to talk about that a little bit more before we wrap things up.
Yeah.
And the album is How Can I Say This? There it is on the camera. You can find that online. Website is?
AnnieCapps.com.
That's pretty easy. So there's some songs on here that we've discussed, the tough subjects.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like you had a very good upbringing when I listened to My Father's House. I'm kind of surprised overall that the lyrics aren't included in the record. I know that you're going to be making them available to Kickstarter contributors, right?
Yeah, they're on the website.
On the website, too.
Yeah, they're all on the website. And I was just saving money.
Oh.
Because the booklets can be, another pricey endeavor to print out all the lyrics. And honestly, people aren't buying CDs. They're streaming it. So, the lyrics are out there. I think My Father's House is an honest depiction of my experience growing up in a house with an absent alcoholic father.
I don't like him, and I've never met him.
I know. Well, here's the thing. I will say this. My father and I had a much better relationship later on. This was my childhood. Mm-hmm. I've got other songs about my dad. He was killed in a car accident 21 years ago now.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It was instant, it was sudden, and he was 65, and it was probably right about the time that, he was chilling out a little bit. He did quit drinking.
Okay. He
was unhappy, and he was not, let's just leave it there. And The kids my dad's really good with adults. not so much with the kids.
Okay.
And you just weren't sure which dad you were going to get. So it was easier to avoid.
Okay.
There was a lot of great memories with my father. This was an expression of a lot of the other memories.
The memories, yeah.
That lived. Yeah, and they shaped, this whole album is about me shaping, like exploring those things, that really do kind of inform. I didn't spend a lot of time in therapy. I call this whole thing folk therapy for a reason, because, I do get a chance to kind of release some stuff. So, yeah.
Okay.
And it's amazing how many people can relate to that. And the house was, well, not my childhood house, but my father's house was actually torn down. And that was kind of where the idea originally came from. It was a prompt.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Learning is another one that doesn't paint men in a very, very good light. The men in your life, with the exception of, well, no, it's okay. It wasn't me.
I know.
I
love men.
I don't think
really
you feel that way about me.
No. Yeah. Yeah, learning's another one. Yeah, I was, so you mentioned the Me Too movement. It's, again, this wasn't intentional. I think the evolution of that song, certainly where it lands on the album, is, a young girl, very young, and then another one in her 20s, just really kind of looking for love and approval. And, when you don't feel like you get it from your dad, the kids with daddy issues, girls particularly, tend to look for it in the wrong kind of guy. And so much of that song is still about my father and the things that impressionable young me picked up from witnessing, and other, certainly not just him. And again, I want to be really clear. I don't, my father had a lot of great qualities. So, but my mother makes an appearance in that song at the end. And as I forgive me, because I just did an interview right before this, and so I don't want to. I think I told the other guy this, but my mom was a concert pianist. She was raised in a convent, basically, and is I call her a saint because in many, many ways she was. And my father did not treat her well. And she is the most forgiving human on the planet. So we forgive in my family. We don't hold those grudges. So
good.
Yeah.
Finally, tell me about the song "The Silent." I'm trying to figure that one out.
Well, it's interesting.
Perspective-wise.
Well, I wrote that song came out of a prompt from a songwriting workshop, and it was me painting a picture of a woman in a clinic about to make that move to the decision to terminate a pregnancy. The song doesn't have to be about that for people. And I have, I have hesitated to be very specific. I mean, to me, it's very clear, and to a lot of women, it's very clear. I've played the song for some men who didn't pick up on the subtlety of it. But it's just sort of my song for women who are facing that incredibly difficult and life-changing decision, and it's nobody's freaking business, and yet it's such a shameful thing for women to have to bear because of the way we are shamed. Yeah. Like, how was that for eloquent? But yeah, nice. It is, it's our bodies, damn it. I couldn't be more pro-choice. I feel like this song speaks to people beyond that issue. At least that was my hope.
Yes. Well, the whole album in general kind of made me think about a little bit of history, and I had to look it up to get specific things right. But in 1920, the 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote. 1963, Equal Pay Act was passed. In 1970, women went on strike for equality. It makes me want to talk about how 53 years later, we shouldn't still be talking about being equals. We're not treating each other as equals yet. Why is that happening? I mean, you're trying to say hey,
Yeah.
I've been.
Right.
These are my experiences with men who have treated me like shit. I can say that. It's a podcast, not a radio show.
I know, right?
And that
excellent.
I mean, I feel like, why aren't we past this already?
Yeah, it's a good point.
So
Think about all the, just think, certainly with our, our black and brown friends and our, the racism that still is so.
Why is that still here?
Yeah, and I know people in this world, not to go into a big old another discussion because we got to handle it, but I know people that don't understand why we can't all just get along, and those are the folks who are, it's the question of they don't understand the outrage because they don't see themselves as part of the problem. And these are white people, of course. And by that, that's a whole different world that I have not been able to successfully navigate in any way of songwriting. But
that's another album.
Exactly. Well, no. We'll see. Maybe it's not mine to write. But that said, you're right. It shouldn't be. We shouldn't be talking about laws that control my body and what I get to do with it. Yeah.
This album should have been made 50 years ago, not now.
Yeah.
And we should have been.
Yeah.
Over this. Anyway, Annie Capps' new record. How can I say this? Go see the Badass Women. Several dates between March 9th and March 11th. If you're listening to this, because the audio version will make its appearance before the video version for people to hear, and then the video version I'll get to as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Thank you very much for sharing your songs and your stories with me.
Thank you very much for asking.
I wish you're well on the next record, which is coming out later this year. It's like, or bam, bam, record. And I appreciate your time. Thanks. Grove Studios, I appreciate them very much. I've mentioned this many times in the past. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be doing a podcast. They encouraged me to do one. I said, do we really need another music podcast? And then I started interviewing my local friends because that's all I could get at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah.
And it felt like home. It felt like, I miss doing this in the radio world. And so I do it because I want to help. I want to make sure that I can make a difference and get people to hear music that isn't being heard anywhere else. And this is the best I can do right now.
That's incredibly eloquent and the perfect reason for you to keep doing it. And you're great at it, John. We really, really appreciate it, honestly.
Thank you, Annie.
It means a lot.
Website again, AnnieCaps.com. Is there an AnnieandRodCaps.com?
There is indeed.
Both.
But now there's just an AnnieCaps.com. It used to be Annie Caps would go to Annie and Rod Caps. Now it goes to its own little page.
All right, check out Grove Studios online. Check out more Acoustic Alternatives podcasts. There are several coming. This is the first of 4 being recorded in 8 days. So,
wow.
Yeah, I'm going to be busy. Thanks for listening, and I hope you tune into the next couple.